Okay, so when a customer approaches you, now they're not a customer yet. When someone approaches you, what is a problem that they're trying to solve before you even know what's the solution?
Okay, I'll give an idea. When you have a special chemical process or like a curing process, certain wavelengths of our light have certain properties. Just like in the UV field, we're talking about 222 or 172 nanometer that have a specific bacteria destroying parameter or certain kind of indicators in certain mechanical process or like curing of glues or something. So normally the customer, the last thing he thinks is a power supply. He just cares, I need this light at that point. Help me to get that there. That's normally the starting point of any conversation that we have with a customer.
So they don't come to you looking for a power supply. They come to you with a problem, and then the power supply is part of the solution.
Correct, yes.
They soon learn that when they have a light source, they need to drive it.
Right.
Many try a different way. They just say, okay, I take an off-the-shelf lamp or LED. I take an off-the-shelf Alibaba, eBay power supply. It's easy, right? Just a bit of light. Then they soon find out, okay, we missed that specific point. It doesn't work. It's too expensive. I can't get any support and so on. So for special applications, you usually need special solutions.
Yeah.
And many customers did learn the hard way. And then hopefully they come to us.
Yeah. Usually just building a prototype, then you learn what's missing. That's in the beginning. So usually people, they are just trying. So for instance, when we have a lot of customers, they can search on our website for the lamp. So they can, when they Google the lamp and they look for a power supply, they may end up on our website because we have a link between the power supply, our ballasts, and the lamps. This is how a lot of customers find our product in the first place. Because in the beginning they say, okay, I have this lamp, how do I drive it? Then they go on Google, search for power supply for this lamp, and then they may come up on our website. And
The
then
SEO is strong.
that's pretty strong because there are not so many people doing this, right? This is very, very straightforward. Well, and then you maybe sell 1 or 2 or 3 power supplies. They build up some prototype. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't work half. Sometimes it doesn't work at all. And then maybe they break the power supply and then they start coming up and then we start, why? What happened? What did you do? Oh, I didn't realize that we need 30,000 volt to start that lamp. Oh, 30,000 volt needs a different isolation than what you normally have on your power plug. The cable that I used from the lamp from the power supply to the lamp, it's only good for 600 volt. Oh, maybe it's good for 1800, but not for 30,000. They're typical things that happen. And then we start working, understanding where they are, and we're trying to provide proposals based on our experience and how to move that in, which is usually quite appreciated, especially after they have the first failures and don't want to have the complaints from their trial customers. And then they start, now I have a product, I want to certify this under a certain rule in order to enter like a North American market or get a European market approval from the local authorities. And then they learn, oh, there are another how many hundreds of requirements they have to meet. For instance, one requirement in medical equipment is that if the product is able to touch the body of the patient, then there's a requirement that the current that goes through the body to like the bed where you lay on has to be below a very low threshold. And the standard power supplies cannot fulfill that.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't know this in the beginning. But latest when you start to certify your product, you will learn about this. And at that moment, you learn, oh, now okay, then I use a power supply, I maybe have not so much current. Oh, now I have to meet the EMI regulations. Then we go in the next one. Then how do you run the wires in your equipment? How do you shield it? How do you run your grounding? And then suddenly, just putting a simple power supply into a machine and turning on a lamp is not that simple anymore. And then there are other requirements. It's like our human eye is sensitive to blue light. So you have to, especially when you have these lamps that also emit UV or shorter wavelength light, you have to consider the safety of the operator as well as the patient. So meaning, usually if the lamp is like in a fiber and the lamp is somewhere in a box, so you want to make sure the light stays in the box, but the hot air still comes out. That's another story. So you have to consider this in your design. And then if somebody opens the box, you have to make sure the lamp goes off. So also these kind of mechanisms need to be planned for. And yeah, and then suddenly there's one problem after the other problem, and then suddenly we realize, it's not so standard anymore. And but having served customers for 25 years in such fields, we have gained quite some experience over the time. And that's also how we extend our offering, because the cable, if a customer needs 2-meter cable, if you try to buy 2-meter cable, if you go to a cable manufacturer, they will tell you, I can sell you 3,000 meter of cable, but I cannot sell you 2 meters of cables of that specific cable.
You can, but for 100 euros per meter.
Yeah, maybe. But as I say, and then, so we start learning that specific accessories that are connected to those drivers are very helpful for those small quantity manufacturers. Yeah, and then we enlist them, and we have some offerings. These are just learning over time.
Now, what separates these two kinds of customers? Is one of them very price conscious and the other one has a bigger budget, or just different way of working?
Of course, we sell all over the world, because just European market, just the Asian market, just USA market would be too small, as we are in a niche application. And there are different mentalities, right? You have the German type, which is quite a highly esteemed engineer with his high degree and so on. You have the more hands-on types from America, maybe. You have the Asian types, and these are all different.
Yeah, normally the most people, at least what we have experienced over time, is they want to solve a problem. They need a machine to solve one particular problem.
Hey.
And then they try to figure out a solution that works reasonably quickly. Yeah. That's how it normally starts. Yeah. And then you enter the journey. Yeah. And then along that journey, some people become really good at what they do.
Yeah. Some of them want to try the cheap way.
Yeah.
It might not work out for them, but they can at least try. But as we have special solutions, the special solutions are never like, okay, 10 euros per device, right? So there is a certain price attached to this, which is justified because the price you pay upfront for a high quality product and for the support saves you money later because you avoid a lot of issues.
Mm-hmm. So can you share the process of working with customers to work through their problems step by step? What does that look like from the customer's perspective?
I often ask the customer, what do you want to achieve with your machine? Which parameter is absolutely essential for your equipment? Because then what does your competitor do? And what do you think you want to do better than what's available on the market?
Okay.
And then we try to assess, is that expectation realistic or unrealistic?
Yeah.
That is one of the questions that we are often asking. Yeah. Is the customer asking for the impossible and beyond? Then we will politely address our concerns. If we think, okay, yeah, there is a gap in that product and he tries to overcome and build up a competitive advantage, and we say, good on him. He figured out something that provides value add to the application. We want to be part of it. We're excited to support that. And then we understand, is there other risks and going along that mission.
What kind of guarantee or warranty do you provide customers?
Of course, we have the standard regulatory terms, of course, which we fulfill. But I am not a friend of being like, okay, your warranty is over, you need to pay for repairs. That's not helpful for a good business relationship.
Yeah, but typically 1 to 2 years of warranty is normal.
Yeah, that's the standard, right?
That's a standard warranty. However, if you have equipment in an industrial process that's running 24/7, a 2 years warranty is quite a high demand. So it's not so typical in applications. However, when we know that we have a power supply that's running in a 24/7 operation, we have to already understand whether our design is capable to support that. We do have some power supplies in the UV world that can handle this type of operation, but I think it's very easy to imagine. If you are at a dentist again, coming to that example, how long is you're going to use to then make a filling, to cure a filling? A few seconds, every hour, and so on, right? That's easy. But when you're in a beverage factory where your equipment, several thousand watts of light to clean the water before it becomes maybe a Coke or another soda pop drink, then, and this factory is running 3 shifts 24/7, you want to make sure your power supply is capable to handle that.
Yeah.
And then it's about backup power supply because, no power in, no power out. That's very simple. So it's not just also about this one, and being able to handle with the backup power or with battery systems that are driving UPS or generators when they switch to a generator power supply. Those requirements very differ. But there, we need to work very, very hard to solve every little component issue. You have to have a D-rating. D-rating means you do not use the component up to its specified level, but below that to lower the risk of component failure. And that is a very different requirement. But we try to understand that in the beginning because it does have a substantial impact on the design approach.
Mm-hmm.
So we have some products which are capable to handle that in the industrial field. We have other products in the medical field that do not need to fulfill that because it's just not part of the application.
So there's no standard warranty. It's actually based on different applications.
And that's why we want the defects back. We really want to have the defects back.
Yes.
Because we need to learn from that. And then we're separating those issues which may come from the application. Somebody cuts into a cable on a sharp corner. Sorry, not much I can do about that. Or if you shorten with a screwdriver when you put in a hole into that's okay, cannot help. But if it's something that's from our own design or from our own manufacturing or from the components we use, or there are certain things that we can influence and we can improve, we want to know that. And having done this for more than 25 years has helped to make the products, which we offer for a long time, gradually better and better and better. And that's why I think we have already a quite stable level now for the existing power supplies. And we will apply the same principle on these LED drivers that we are in the means to develop in order to reach the same or even better level of stability. Because again, our customers are selling very, very expensive machines, and their customers expect these machines to work very reliably for a very long time.
Yeah.
And that applies to every and each component that's built into this product, including the power supply and driver. And that's the commitment that we provide to our customer.
Yeah.
And that's why when you are considering, do you want to use a startup that has been opened a year ago and may run out of finance next year? Or do you want to work with a partner that has been in the business for 43 years and where the distributor is also in the market for 25 years? I think you're better off with guys like us rather than the guy that just opened shop and may close because he's running out of money next day.
Yeah.